Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. As always, it is so awesome to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by. The inspiration for today's video actually came from behind the drum set. I have been working on my latest song that I'm recording and have been coming up with a drum part. And I thought I would share, I guess, some of the creative process that I tend to use in composing a drum part. A lot of the things that I'm going to cover in today's video can be applied to other instruments, but that said, admittedly, this is going to be somewhat drum-centric. There are some assumptions here that you at least kind of know the basics of drumming or drum programming, that you have time to create, that you're not under the studio clock, that you don't have a producer or a paid client who is dictating the parts or how much time that you can spend in recording. Essentially that you've got free rein to come up with whatever you want. I'm going to break this video down into 3 sections with lots of points to consider in between. All right, for this first section, it's probably one of the most basic things that we can do, and that is to get to know the song. All right, it's difficult to create a part for some music if you're not familiar with the tune. And by that, I essentially mean, at least in the initial stages, the structure of the song. And if you are the composer, then congratulations, you are way ahead of the curve because you know what's coming and when. If you don't have that luxury, however, and you are given a piece of music, there are a couple things that you can do in order to get to know the song. If you have the luxury of having a demo that you can hear, then, one is to simply try to memorize it. There are some people who have the uncanny ability to hear a song a time or two and then have it imprinted in them, and they can go from there. I am not that lucky, right? And especially as I get older and my memory isn't what I would like it to be. So another thing that you can do in order to save some time is just to do a quick chart of the song. Now, I don't mean a note-for-note transcription. I'm talking about basically listing out, okay, the introduction of the song is 8 measures. The verse 1, 8 measures. Verse 2, 8 measures. The bridge, 4 measures. The chorus, 16 measures, and so on and so forth. If you do that from the beginning of the song to the end and just write that out, then there are no surprises, okay? You know when things are coming. The other thing to consider in knowing the song is if you have the, again, luxury to listen to it ahead of time, is does the song climax anywhere? Does it crescendo to a pinnacle? I'm not going to be coming in at the start of a song and playing all this stuff if down the road, 3/4 in, there's a break for a drum solo. All right, it's more apt to be there. So just want to be aware of crescendos. You want to be aware of where the main emphasis of the song is going to be. On the flip side, there may not be any of that, and you listen for that as well. Is it just a tune that grooves? Is it just kind of a stay-in-the-course song and really doesn't venture out and do much with dynamics and whatnot? Then you play to that. Another thing to listen for is the mood of the song, to try to gather what the composer is trying to convey. Is it an angry song? And if it is, then play angry. The intensity that you have should match the anger of the tune. You're not going to sit and play this light little bossa nova against a punk song, although that might be kind of cool. Now, if you're going to play a bossa nova, then play an angry bossa nova, right? If it's a sad ballad, what can you bring to the table emotionally to kind of get behind that? Because, our goal is to try to put our emotion into it, because that emotion is heard from the listener, or felt, maybe a better word there. it definitely can make the difference in a song. So try to match the mood and the vibe. The other thing is to ask the question, what is the most important instrument in this song? Is it the vocals? Okay, if it's a vocal song, 9 out of 10 times, as a drummer, you are playing the back seat. You are just laying down a groove. You are in the supporting role to make those vocals shine. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what we do. The other thing is, if it's an instrumental, is to ask the question, well, are any of the other instruments the lead instrument then? If you've got a guitar buddy that brought you a song and asked you to play on it, and he's or she is shredding all over this thing, and then you go, okay, well, I know that I need to take a back seat and just play a groove so my friend can shine. So these are some of the things that you would want to consider as you get to know the song. Here we are at the second section. So after you get to know the song, you learn its structure, you get a feel for its vibe, then you come to this, and it is to help the song. I will ask myself, okay, what can I do to make this song shine? And a follow-up question that I would ask soon after is there a sense of adventure in this tune or not? Would it allow for me to explore some different things, or does it just really require me to play a basic groove? There are some things that help me to distinguish which track to go. And the first one would be if I get a demo from somebody or a song from somebody, or even if I create it myself, where there's already a lot of busy playing on it. The guitarist is playing a lot of notes, same as the bassist. Maybe there's a lot going on vocally. Then I will often start with just playing a simple groove and strive to be the glue that everybody needs. The opposite also holds true if I get a song that doesn't have a lot going on in it, like the new song that I'm working on right now. I then have the space to play more, to play out more. And then, of course, in certain genres like jazz fusion or even prog rock, everybody's playing a lot of notes, and that's perfectly acceptable as well. I'd also listen to the bassist. If you have a demo, listen to what the bass guitar is doing. That will often steer you in the direction you need to go as far as groove and feel is concerned. And perhaps one of the best things that I have learned over the years that helps me in my process, and this one is if you have a little bit more time, is to start the song, thinking mentally about what you want to do, and then when you sit behind the kit for the first time, just play everything. Overplay the groove, overplay the fills, overplay everything. Play as complex as you can and get all of that crap out of your system. Because what I end up doing is then I'll end up picking and choosing certain things and doing all that. Like, ooh, I like that fill there, and I like this feel here. That particular section needs something really simple. And it's kind of like a sculptor getting a big block of marble, say, and they're chipping away, and finally it gets down to its most pure form, its simplest form in the statue. And I guess that's kind of the way I look at it when I sit behind an empty slate and am beginning to work on a part. It always starts busy and then gets simpler. And then the other thing that can be helpful, if you have the means to do this, in order to really help the song, is to record yourself in those initial stages. Say you've come up with the groove. Play it with the song. See how it feels. Sometimes what we hear back here doesn't translate so well over where the speakers are, and it will let you know, okay, you're going to have to make some adjustments on that, or, oh, wow, that sounds awesome. It will also keep you honest. So you can hear like, dang man, those ghost notes aren't lining up like they should be. So either I need to tighten that up or I need to figure out a different part. So recording yourself is often very good in the creative process. And lastly, I think one of the biggest things just to help the song is to put the ego aside. Play what's best for the music. And you can never really go wrong with that. All right, on to the last section, which I like to label Little Things Make a Difference. The details make a difference. If we were to think about this whole creation process in the analogy of baking a cake, the first step, the first stage in getting to know the song would be like getting all the ingredients together and putting them in a big bowl and mixing it up. The second stage, helping the song, would be like baking the cake. And the third would be putting the icing on the cake. This would be found in the little things that we can do that add some detail, that provide an ear candy that's enticing to the listener. So the first thing that I would listen for when it comes to this stage would be accents. Listen to the accents throughout the song. Is the guitarist hitting a certain chord right here? If it's got horns, what are the horn players doing? Is there a keyboard? Is there an orchestral stab or whatever? See if you can match those accents in some way on the kit, whether it's a full-blown crash or you're just adding an extra snare hit, something subtle. Accents definitely play a big part in this. Another would be dynamics. Now, I've already mentioned a little bit here that dynamics are going to be important in the song, to pay attention. If it's a ballad, for instance, and it's very doubtful that I'm going to come in it full-fledged, smacking down rim shots as loud as I possibly can. I might end up, just hitting lighter snare hits and relying more on the mic on that. I might also think, you know what, maybe brushes would be better here, or rods that you can use to play a little bit quieter, just add a different dynamic. So anyways, just be thinking about the dynamics of the tune, especially as things might get quieter in songs. And this brings me to the next part. There are some times where just dropping out and playing nothing is exactly the right thing to do. Space is so important. It's every bit as important as playing notes. So you want to pay attention to your usage of space. And sometimes that space is to the other instruments or vocalists' benefit and letting them shine through at certain times. Other times it might be to set up something that you do that's really cool. I love to add a little space, sometimes be right before a big fill. It can, like make the listener go, what's happening there? And then all of a sudden to come up with something, or to come in with something that's impactful. It definitely has more of an oomph to it. So I don't know if I said that right, but we're going to go with it. The other thing, now talking about fills, are fills themselves. And I probably am going to do another video down the road just on the thoughts of fills, because that's always a subjective thing. I guess when I think about fills, I go back to what I said earlier. I get that out of my system. I play as complex fills, I play simple fills, I play whatever on the initial stages in creating the part, and eventually scale things down. The question to ask then is this fill necessary? Do I need to play a fill here? Would it be cooler if I just played a groove? Try it. Another thought would be the type of fill. What you might have played before, this real complex fill. Oh yeah, man, that sounds really good there. Well, maybe after the 5th time in hearing it, you're like, that's overplaying, and that I think I'm going to scale that down a little bit. That can be something to consider. So just pay attention to your fills and what you place and where, and try to match that with the dynamics of the song. And then the last thing would be to think in colors. Think in terms of colors. Think like a percussionist. You know, that's what we are. And so there are so many different colors and sounds that I can create with the drums, whether it's just hitting rims or bells of cymbals or splashes or just a hi-hat click or whatever the case may be, you know, lots of different sounds that can come from here. And it might be that as you're listening to the song, you also think, don't forget about real percussion instruments. I'm not suggesting these aren't, but what I'm saying is, you know, rather than that really busy tom part that you've created that just doesn't seem to be working, maybe it's just playing a simple groove and playing a bongo part over top of that. Congas or cowbell. Yeah, I mean, there are so many percussion instruments that you can use. Electronics, you know, you can bring in some funky sounds with electronics that could really add to a song. So don't be afraid to experiment and have a percussionist's mind when crafting a drum part. Okay, there you have it. There are 3 main sections with lots of points to consider in between. And I hope that if you are still with me today, that you gleaned something from this. If anything, just a good reminder of some things to consider when creating a musical part. One word that I would like to end with, at least a thought here, is, you know, just as I mentioned in the third part about, you know, maybe not becoming too predictable, well, we don't want to do that with the creative process as well. And even though this list is a good, you know, stepping board, a good platform, maybe a good foundation, the thought is, you know, that we never follow it so closely that we aren't afraid to take chances, so that we aren't afraid to do something new, to break new ground, because really, as artists, that's what we're striving for, isn't it? I would think so. At least that's where I am. When I think about songs that I love and adore, it's often because there was an idea that came out of nowhere, from left field, that I went, whoa, that is cool, or dang it, why didn't I think of that? So, you know, don't be afraid to push the boundaries in any of this, and just don't become complacent. All right, let's be artists. All right, that is it for today. As always, I hope you are seriously doing well. Until the next video, light and love to you. Bye now.